He is turning in some stunning drives.
Ollie Gavin has definitely got the grips again with the 97 Aston Martin as he closes in on Ricard Leeds for 5th position in the GT Pro category, going over the top of the rise, and ahead of them is Richie Stanaway in the 98 car, who's already gone past the Porsche and is disappearing to become a small light blue dot in the distance. As I say that, he's misjudged. He's braking into turn 11. Now, does he get it back? No, he just comes on right in front of them and immediately pulls across defensively into the middle of the road. They're not quite that close, but Gavin is in the hole in the air being made by the 92 of Ricard Leach. He pulls out to the left-hand side just as they go under the Tudor banner. He's got position to driver's left for the left-hander, and he does make the stop. That's draft, pull out, come back. Oh, and Stanaway's got a problem. Stanaway's got a problem in the 4th position 98 car, a drive issue.
Because both cars just streamed by him once he came off the apex of the corner,
12,
where of 12, where Gavin was able to get by the Porsche, and he was virtually stopped in the middle of the road, and the two of them went around the driver's left of him, and he is definitely slowing. He's a little bit faster now. I wonder if he's got an electrical problem or a gearbox problem. Could be gearbox.
Did he?
Because he's back up to speed now.
He does realise that he's racing those guys. He wasn't letting them through. Oh, no, he's in the pits.
No, he's coming in the pits.
He's in the pits, and right behind him is the #1 Audi of Ben Treluet. And this is going to frustrate Ben if he can't stay at the 60km/h speed limit. But he can. Let's go to Shea Adam. Now, Shea is good, but you can't be in two places at once. Where are you, Shea?
I'm in between them at the moment. I'm closer to the 98, though. Richie Stanaway finally bailing out from his stint. The lights are off on the cars. The fuel is going in. They did not have tires ready. Don't think this was an expected pit stop, but the crew was as amazing as ever. They were out there waiting for the car by the time it got back in. No tires. Mechanics running back into the garage. They do have dolly jacks, though. They are going to put the car up on the jacks and take it back into the garage to get a closer look at it. So this is more than something that's just superficial.
Meantime, down at Audi, it is nothing if not a very slick and expected pit stop, completely the opposite from what we were hearing described there by Shea up at Aston Martin.
It wasn't a driver change, was it, John?
I did not see a driver
change. No driver change. Jeremy and I were watching. Fuel and tires only. No driver change.
So that's Ben Treluet then staying at the wheel at #1. He'll lose 3rd place when this happens, of course, because the Rebellion Lola #12 will be able to go past him whilst he's stationary in the pits, I think.
And he's just lost another lap as the two leaders have come by him as well, Paul. 8 and 2.
Yeah, so he is 2 laps behind, isn't he? Stefan Sarazan still at the wheel and still in the lead. That you know, the fact that he's on the 2nd stint for these tyres doesn't seem to be delaying him any, but he is getting reeled in by Loic Duval now, and Duval is going to be 2 laps away from being able to make a move for the lead.
Yeah, probably about that. He's a while ago it was a 6-second lead. Now it's 1.3 seconds. I would think that probably within this lap, certainly in the next lap, he'll be close enough to take a shot at the top spot.
And that's going to be crucial, because how many laps he loses, or how much time he loses behind the Toyota is going to be the critical thing between winning and losing this race, because they're both going to have, I've just been working this out, they're both going to have 4 more stops, these two, and so it's going to be crucial who loses the most time, because a Toyota can stay out longer, of course.
I love the fact that with 3 hours and 7 minutes to go, we're already looking for the key moment of the race and how it will play out. That is one of the joys of working with sports cars and with a top team, and somebody as clever as Paul Trustwell. It's just been pointed out to me as well that Richie Stanaway, by the way, before that issue, had taken 30 seconds out of the class leader, but it's not good news for Aston Martin, Shea, down there at that pit.
It's not. The first thing they did when they wheeled the 98 back into the garage was take the driver's side door off and then take the hood off. There are about 5 mechanics all trying to see and feel up into the left-hand side of the car where the driver's feet are, up near where the clutch is. I think there's a bunch of electronics up there, if I'm not mistaken. And that would not be a good sign for this car, which had started to do well again. It's been a rough day for the 98, having a few spins over the weekend, but this looks like it won't be an easily fixed problem.
Electrical problems seldom are, Shea, to be honest. They back to the leaders as once again the Aston Martin, the 96 car of Stuart Hall, just plays its part as through goes the leader, but both of the prototypes at the head of the field equally delayed or not. Oh, massive sideways moment in the braking area for 11 for Duval as the back end of the Audi tries to overtake the front. He is on the ragged edge.
That took all of his quick hands to keep that thing under control. He was separated by the Aston Martin just a little bit, and he was trying to make up that time in one corner, and now he jinks hard right and left behind the Peugeot. I don't know whether he was trying to just see if he could unseat the Sarrazin or not, because he wasn't really close enough to make a move, but it was a very violent right-left move that Duval pulled right behind Sarrazin.
And you owe us $5 for Peugeot.
Did I say? I did. I'm sorry.
However, somebody had just asked me to have you say that and Jaguar. On
Jaguar.
Yeah.
Peugeot.
And
Jaguar.
The $5 is coming out. I was only kidding.
No, the responsible adult said pay up and slapped her palms. There you go. There you go. $5 US. But they look just like 1s and 20s and 10s, but that's a whole other argument.
So let's go on board with Duval on a replay, and he got very, very tight indeed to the back of the Toyota as he was heading down the back straight. This is fascinating to me to see this playing out, the relative strengths and weaknesses of the two cars, which are being played out in this very different circuit from what we're used to seeing when we come on our travels to the United States. Surface is relatively smooth, quite a broad grain of surface. It does hold the water rather too much for my liking, and doesn't drain very well either. A lot of standing water here.
Well, that's Texas.
Well, that's true.
Because that's Texas. That's just the way that, because Austin, Texas is basically on rock. There isn't a lot of dirt here to soak up.
So this is a water table issue as much as it is anything about.
This is not.
That's interesting.
This is an Austin, Texas situation, because it's basically on rock. So
in behind the Toyota is an Audi. He jinks out down towards turn number 12, and again, like Duval, is fighting the car, but the fight has gone to the Frenchman, and he goes ahead of the number 8 of Stefan Sarrazin, but Sarrazin did not make that easy, and he had to wring every last bit of braking force out of that number 2 Audi, and he's not got that car turned quite into the apex of turn 15, just gone offline maybe a little bit early and got some dirt on the front Michelins there, and this is still a battle. He's not driving away from Sarrazin at the end of the track here, and Sarrazin's got the 300 horsepower boost coming onto the start-finish straight to come.
And as we take a look at a replay, Duval left his braking so late, he almost lost the front end after he goes through the apex of the corner, and you could see him fighting just little left-right adjustments as the car slews just a little bit to the right and left, right in front of Sarrazin. It almost looked like it was a blocking move, but I don't think it was. I think he was just taking all of his effort to try and hold on to that car.
Paul Truswell points out that on that lap we had purple sector 2 for Duval and purple sector 1 for Trellier. That's fastest sectors of the race, and Trellier has just put in the fastest lap of the race in his quest to get back to this battle. Duval and Sarrazin.
He's got to make up 2 laps, though. That's a big ask.
Really is.
That's on a full tank of fuel as well, remember, because Trellier has only just been in for his pit stop, although he does have a new set of tyres.
And indeed, it looks...
I'm looking across at the... We have an important announcement. I'm looking across at the responsible adult who has head in hands. She is on the Twitter naughty step, which means 1,000. She's already done 1,000 tweets today. That's how busy social media has been.
So is that like a 10-minute timeout?
I don't know. We're waiting.
Oh, they just make you sit on the step. Oh, I'm sorry.
The Morgan 45.
You want to use mine?
Morgan 45.
I could use some more followers.
Morgan 45 and the 76 Porsche have had an incident that's under investigation. And with just coming up to half distance now. We'll keep you advised of that as the number 1 Audi of Ben Treluet comes to try. And that is Mathieu Lenel, the race engineer of the number 8 car, telling him that the Audi is 2 laps down. He goes round the long way, turn number 19. I think he'd get a penalty for that. He overtook 2 cars off the circuit. He never listed a moment, Treluet. He might say that he had to do that.
He dove underneath the 8 car and then carried all that speed through, and they came upon the Oak car, and he had no place to go, either drive over top of the Oak car or go to the right and go off the racetrack, which is what he did, and then carried on past the Oak car. So unbelievable move. You might have heard me taking an intake of breath, because when the director cut off the shot, they went to the onboard shot, you couldn't see what was happening, and I didn't know if he'd made it through there or not.
So exactly halfway through. Can you believe we've still got half this race to go?
So does Duval let him go here?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a dangerous thing to do, because it puts him he's only 1 lap back, so yes, you do, absolutely. The Aston Martin problems that we documented for Richie Stanaway earlier on, after Richie had been making great inroads into the leaders. Shea Adam in the powered by Nissan pit lane has been keeping an eye on that, Shea.
When the mechanics are going to work down by the pedals, it's probably something with the pedals. It was a stuck throttle, so a scary, scary thing to happen. But the good news is they got it fixed quickly, put Pedro Lamy out in the car, and he is now turning laps, so they should be able to make up some ground. It is not an electrical problem, so they don't have to worry about that.
Shea's been hanging out with Joe Bradley. She's getting that policeman's eye.
Yeah, absolutely investigative. It's when she starts getting the spanners out or starts dipping fingers and sniffing or licking liquid that we'll have to worry. Pedal box problems is something that is very scary in any car. And I speak of what I know, having had a rather loose throttle pedal that wanted to get caught under the brake pedal at Donington Park the last time we raced, just before it snapped completely and we had to weld it back on again. That's endurance racing. I got the car back.
Tracy Crone, the local hero, in the car for his stint in the number 67 car.
Got a great cheer from the
57 car. Sorry.
Got a great cheer from the front stretch crowd here.
Yes, I heard that. That was great when you did that. That was awesome.
Texas's own.
Yep.
Now, meanwhile, back at the head of the P2 field.
Second place.
Battle for second place with Roman Rusinov up the road by about 20-odd seconds. And disappearing, becoming a speck.
But we have got the two Oak cars have been coming back together.
Yes, Gonzalez and Ennemeyer Hansen drawn back together with the Oak magnet. We did think Stefan Sarrazin had a Lotus magnet at one stage as they tried to go past the 61 of Marco Ciocci, who was slightly dozy as Gonzalez went down the inside. That was all a bit tight, and that has allowed David Ennemeyer Hansen to go through into second place. So that is a change of position. And
yeah, here's another look.
I've got a feeling that there's a... Oh, actually, it was both of them that got there. I'll take back what I said from Ciocci. Actually, he didn't really get in the way. Sorry, Mark, that would be unusual. But meantime, the Oak twins are both off the circuit right in front of us. Sorry, that's down at turn 13.
Did they take themselves off?
I think they did, and there's damage to the 35. He's got some steering damage, I think, or maybe a puncture, or has he just dirtied the tyres so badly offline, because there is a lot of debris offline that he can't get the car to turn? No, I think it's more than that. Coming down into the braking area at 12, 24 misses his... Oh, my goodness, yeah, right front suspension damage on the 35. Coming down into 12, the 35 of Gonzalez goes onto the curb, hits one of those sleeping policemen, which launches him into the air and basically sideswipes his teammate about 18 inches off the ground.
That was a way over ambitious move. He'd already lost the rear end of the car because he was carrying too much speed, diving for the apex. Then he goes, hits the pyramid and launches himself. He's lucky he didn't go over the top of his teammate. That was silly.
Right front steering arm is what the team will need to replace. That's gone.
And an under tray.
Yeah, maybe actually. I think he was a little bit further up, and certainly some underwear for the driver. as he brings it in. Shea Adam is down in the powered by Nissan pit lane.
In all honesty, I think an underwear change is the least concern of the team right now. They do not look very happy. Car goes in, brought to a halt. Fueling goes in first. The Dunlop man is checking the tires to see if they can double stint these, since they have only been on for one leg. Not even a full leg, as a matter of fact. The crew have all of the dollies ready. They know that this car is going to need some more serious work and attention than they can give it on the pit lane. Fueling is done, air jack is going in, and the car is going back into the garage.
Almost an absolute cert. Let's run down the times and the positions for you at just over 3 hours completed. It's like Duval by 6.1 seconds from Stefan Sarazan, 2 from 8, Audi from Toyota. They've both completed 93 laps on 91 laps. Ben Trelliway for the number 1 Audi, and on 91 laps at the moment, no, 92 laps now for Trelliway and 91 for Heidfeld, as they've just gone across the line. That makes more sense. Rusinov leads P2 for the number 26 Orica Nissan from Hennemeyer Hansen, and that promotes that little contretemps there between teammates, promotes the 49 Picom Orica of Luis Perez Companc into 3rd place. Rudy Hunko in 4th in the 25 G-Drive Delta ADR Orica. In GT Pro, Bruno Senna still in the car, in the 99 car, by 5.8 seconds now, 6 seconds the Aston Martin on the 71 Ferrari of Kamui Kobayashi and Giancarlo Fisichella. Wow, Senna, Kobayashi, Fisichella and Ollie Gavin are the top 4 drivers, 99, 71, 51 and 97. Less than a minute.
That's serious talent.
Less than a minute between those 4 and 6 seconds between the first 2 in AM. Stuart Hall has cycled to the front of the field in the number 96 Aston Martin he shares with Jamie Campbell-Walter. Has about half a minute, 35 seconds on Christian Poulsen now in the 95 Aston Martin, with Enzo Potoliccio having just pitted in the 81 8-star, the bright orange Ferrari.
He's only made 2 pit stops.
Yeah.
Stuart Hall's only made 2. He's due a pit stop, so he may in fact lose that to Paulson.
Yeah, as I said, cycle through to the front.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. It's okay. It's okay. And Potolicchio has just come into the pitch. Jean-Carl Vernet's just gone out in the 76 Porsche. Their team manager's been asked to go down to race control, but we know not yet for what.
As Graham Goodwin just points out to me, that little move by Gonzalez could have far-reaching implications. They were the championship leader going in, and now they've lost position to their closest rival. So this could have dire consequences in the championship just because he didn't use his head very well.
Paul Trustwell in our UK data centre has been watching lap times and Audi lap times in particular. Paul?
Yeah, I don't quite know what's going on in the Audi land. The number 2 car, Loic Duval, took the lead on lap 90, and since then he's not been under 1 minute 50. His lap times have been 1 minute 50.4, 1 minute 50.3, 1 minute 50.3, 1 minute 50.6, and so on. Whereas remember, before he took the lead, he was dipping down into the 48s and regularly lapping in the 49s. So quite what's going on, can't quite understand. What it seems to be the case, I'll put it that way, is that once the Audi is ahead of the Toyota, it says, okay, let's just ease the pace a little bit, rather than just going flat out all the time, which is what Ben Trelliway is doing, and why Trelliway has the fastest lap of the race, probably. Unless there is something out on the track that is a little bit weaker, making life more difficult for the crowd or the traffic or something like that is having an impact. But it just seems strange that 2 guys are banging those times at under 1 minute 50, getting to the lead, and now he's just sitting there at 1 minute 50, regular stop.
Let's just review what's happened in the last 3 hours and 5 minutes. The incident at the start that took care of one of the Lotuses, James Rossiter, didn't get too far into the 6 hours of Austin. A fire for Porsche, and that car having dropped down. Jörg Bergmeister, he's out in that car at the moment actually, so they've cleaned it up and recentered. It's sitting in 26th position, and then the battle at the head of the field with Toyota leading the first hour, and it looked like that might have just been on pit stops, but it has been a pace battle, a properly paced battle at the front of the field that's seen the number 1 Audi, Marcel Fesler, taking to the air with all 4 wheels off the tarmac down through the S's, damaging part of the under tray, we think, but that car came back out in relatively quick time, having traded some paint with Toyota and indeed with one of the Porsches. And then it has been nip and tuck at the head of the field. Typically the Toyota going a little further on its fuel load, and Audi playing catch-up as they are making their pit stops a little quicker. However, it is now come down to a straight fight at the head of the field between Audi and Toyota, with them having the same amount of pit stops still to run. And in fact, the 2 Audis are running nose to tail on the circuit at the moment, with Ben Treluet trying to get one of his laps back from the leader, Loic Duval. That's how it stands with 2 hours and 50 minutes to go here at Texas. Well, still plenty to happen as the leader is about to come into the pit lane, and does. Paul Truswell has just sent me a note to say due in this lap. Oh, just gets that stop before the line in front of us.
He grabbed all the brakes he could on that.
You know, Schumacher was the man who used to do in practice, come steaming into the pits before it mattered to try it out. Duval's last laps, 23, wow. 50.23, 50.46, 50.35, 50.3, 50.5, 50.6, 51.7, and then coming into the pits. And his gap to the number 8 has increased in that time, so pacing himself to what he needs to do. Thank you, Jeremy. As he comes into the pit lane, 2 red lights on the side of the number 8 TSO 30, and we'll go down to the pit lane and Shea Adam.
Loic Duval is staying behind the wheel of the number 2 Audi. They're doing a full service stop, otherwise fuel, tires, clean off the windshield and send him back out onto the track. In other news, down in the pit lane, the 35 has more severe damage than just the front suspension. As Yves would put it, there was an air gap between 2 pieces that should have been connected. But other than that, they've been examining the right-hand side of the tub, doing little motions to it, almost as if pressure points, to see what parts will flex that shouldn't flex, and they found more than they wanted to initially. Put a new back end on the car, did some fuel or oil top off, I couldn't tell which one it was, and now they are just trying to put a new front right suspension piece on. But as I said, there's a lot more work going on to this car than just the suspension.
Actually hear the hammering that's going on behind. Thank you very much, Juan, for that. Paul Truswell, that's significant for Audi, because although the tyres were changed, as has been every stop, I think that's the first time we've seen a driver do a double.
In that car, yes it is, that's right, John, but Ben Treluet has kind of set the mould because he stayed in the car at its last pit stop. I suppose strictly speaking you could argue that Andre Lotterer did a double, but his was a short one. Do you remember when he came in with that jammed gearbox or the fuse which had popped out of the box as a result of being flung one of those concrete pyramids, as Wolfgang Ulrich told us. But Treluet then doing a proper double stint in the number 1 car, but that's the first double stint for the number 2, with Loic Duval going out for a second go. And as he would seem to be the sharpest tool in the number 2's box, then why not?
Yeah, fair point, well made. RadioLeMans.com bringing you full live coverage of every FIA WEC.com event, all sessions in audio, qualifying in the race with video. David Richards is down there in the number 98 pits, overlooking the work that is going on there, as the 99 of Bruno Senna still leads the Pro category, and the 96 of Stuart Hall leads the ARM category. We learned earlier on in the week that their effort will go down to 4 cars from now on. In an interview with John Gore, the Aston Martin racing director. It's the Stefan Sarazan driven. Toyota continues now back in the lead, of course, by 1 minute and 7 seconds on the pit stop rotation. He still has to stop.
Stefan Sarazan indeed does, but he just set the fastest lap in that car for the race so far, 49.31 on lap 98 for Stefan Sarazan. So he's now trying to make hay and turn some quick laps before he comes in for his next pit stop.
97 is in. Ollie Gavin, I think. Oh, that was fuel only. Wow, and that was quick. That was super quick. Wow.
Amateur car 81. Your driver has started the stint by not respecting track limits. Now he's not respecting the blue flags. I can stop him and explain to him the track limits and the blue flags. All drivers which are blue flagged must respect that fact. Marshals are doing a very difficult job out there. They are to be respected.
You see, I like the way Eduardo goes about what he does. I can stop him and explain what blue flags mean. Basically, he's telling the team to get hold of their driver and have a word with him before he does it for them.
Well, not only that, John, but the interesting thing is that transmission that we're listening to is going to all the teams, of course.
Yes.
So he's not just saying it to the team that he was talking to there. I think it was the 81 8-star team.
Correct.
But it was all teams, so everybody gets to hear it. And that's a deliberate ploy on Eduardo Freitas' part. He's not sort of just using the wrong channel. He's deliberately using that in the public domain.
Yes, I agree. And I think it's something that we've talked about this before, Paul, haven't we? A number of FIA WEC and the ELMS events. The redoubtable Eduardo Freitas, our race director, tends to set his stall out very early in the week, and then everyone knows where the boundaries are. And we always, Johnny O'Connell, my broadcast partner at ABC and ESPN here in the US, always says, look, I'm a driver. Treat me like a 5th or a 6th grader and everybody's life will be easier. And part of that is setting boundaries and letting people know what is expected of them. And that's exactly, Paul, what we've just seen, or at least heard, Eduardo Freitas doing.
Exactly right, yep. And he's done a good job since he's been involved with the World Endurance Championship and with the European Le Mans Series. He's become a bit of a personality as well to boot by allowing himself to be broadcast. There's some race directors I can think of who wouldn't allow themselves to be put into the public eye like that.
Yeah, and interestingly, he took me to one side actually in Brazil, and we had a long chat with him. About safety car procedures, and he was actually he and I had a really sensible discussion. We weren't having an argument about it at all, actually. We were having a discussion about how we could make things better, and particularly about Le Mans, and in the light of what we were talking about earlier on in the race weekend here with Jeremy during the rain delay during the, I think, last practice session. That was interesting. I sort of not forgotten about that, but it's not something I really wanted to talk about on air, but it's just not the detail of it, but just indicative again of the fact that he's prepared to make himself available, and indeed, if necessary, come and tap you on the shoulder and just say, hey, I just want to explain this, and what do you think of that, and how could we make this better? And again, that's the sort of thing that some people just wouldn't do. We've got 2 hours and 42. We've got an American Le Mans Series race still to go here at the Circuit of the Americas, and Jeremy Shaw is alongside me. He and Paul Truswell crunching the numbers. What you got, Jeremy?
No, just the Ricardo Gonzalez just rejoined the race there. This long stop to repair the right front corner on that car, and the car has just rejoined, but Gonzalez is now, what, 5, 6 laps, 7 laps behind the class leader. So as Jim Roller was talking about, absolutely crucial in the championship standings for that car that was leading the points coming into this weekend, but by only, well, by 14 over the teammate car, number 24 car, which is now running second in the class. And David Heinemeier Hansen really is doing a spectacular job in second place at the moment.
Shit, Adam?
The 24 car teammate that Jeremy was just speaking about is about to come into the pit, so with a comfortable lead over its teammate, the 35 of Ricardo Gonzalez. Back out on track, the guys did an excellent job getting that car put back together. but they had to stop a little bit before some of the crew guys had to bail off because the 24 does need fuel and potentially new tires. Just waiting for it to come down the pit lane now.
Chris Dyson has just taken out the Greaves Zytec Nissan and spins the car at turn number 1, but he's got it pointing back in the right direction, no harm, no foul, and sets off on his outlap. Just trying to spot some battles for you. Well, still the GTs, of course, default to GT when all else fails, with Tony Vielander in a, I'm sure, still slightly smoky smelling 71 Ferrari after his fire in Sao Paulo. Is only 3.5 seconds behind Giancarlo Fisichella, 51 from 71 in second and third. It's a minute between Duval and Sarrazin, so he's taken 7 seconds out of the lead before the Peugeot. He's got me at it now, $5 from me. Well, 2.5 when he said Peugeot. The Toyota of Stefan Sarrazin is in the pit lane.
And that is a scheduled pit stop for Sarrazin. I'm just trying to play this one out and interested what Jeremy does on this as well, because he'll be working these things out as well. But I think that assuming that the Toyota carries on with this schedule of double stinting its tyres, this is a full service stop for Sarrazin, and they'll be using this opportunity to hand the car over to Anthony Davidson, I suspect. But I think with them both now having 3 more stops to do, the Toyota has got the upper hand, and unless Audi can do something in terms of improving the number of improving the lap times, then they're not going to be able to win this race. This is going to be Toyota's race. If Audi can improve their lap times, then they'll be able to still do it.
Well, let's find out what's happening in the pits, and then I'll get Jeremy's reaction to that. Shea Adam is watching the pit stop of the Sarrazin car.
Anthony Davidson has taken control of the car for the first time this weekend during the race. He has 4 new Michelin tires to go back out on, and he has taken off down the pit lane, down by the 24 Oak Racing. They put new Dunlops on that car, decided that they were not good enough to go out for a double stint, so they did have to put new rubber on that car.
And Anthony Davidson celebrating the birth of a child a little bit early, but the wonders of technology allowing him to have a video link back to the hospital back at home. And so congratulations to all. I think all is well. So that's very good indeed. Like Duval then continues to go. Now, a bit earlier on this week, caught up with David Richards of Aston Martin Racing. He popped in to see us here in the RadioLeMans.com booth, and with the calendar having just been announced, it was an opportunity to catch up with all things FIA WEC, with the man at the head of not just Aston Martin Racing, of course, but also the car company. And this is what he had to say to us.
No, it's a very special place, and a great welcome from everyone we've seen here in Texas so far.
What do you make of the World Endurance Championship this year, and looking forward to 2014? There's a massive degree of continuity in the calendar. Is that what you were hoping to see?
You mean it's nearly the same? It's yes, it's obviously building in its whole sort of awareness around the world now. This year's been the initial year of it, and close racing everywhere we've been. We've seen potentially different winners, certainly in the GT, and I'm sure for next year that will continue as well. So it's this is the start of a sort of a wave towards sports car racing at a world championship level, which has long been waited for.
Le Mans, of course, is still always the jewel in the crown. The season has to fit around that. But for a motor manufacturer, a niche manufacturer like Aston Martin, as well as the higher volume, it ticks all the right boxes, doesn't it, in terms of the countries and the territories and the marketplaces that it visits?
No, for us it's very important to obviously have our home event, the TT at Silverstone, and then to go to Spa and Le Mans. America's our second largest market in the world, and then we're off to China as well, and Japan, and then finally to the Middle East, where our shareholders come from. So it's you're quite right, it does tick many of the boxes.
we can't have the race team without the car manufacturer, and Aston Martin Lagonda as a car manufacturer there's been a little bit of change there in the last 12 months or so. Stable now and moving forward. Are you happy, and are the shareholders happy about how it's looking?
No, we've got a great range of products now, and it's a complete new range of products, in fact, and so we're looking very strong from that point of view. Got in some new shareholders, some Italian shareholders, so a lot of investment going into the business, into future product as well.
Part of what you do is quite clearly supporting customers as well, and that's always been a massive part of Aston Martin's racing side of things, and there's no reason to see that is going to change anytime soon. The GT3, the V12 Vantage has been extraordinarily successful.
Yeah, we've got some great product in, just as we have great products on the road, we've got great race product. We've got the GT4 car, which is sort of the mainstay, if you like, for club racing, and even I get out in that occasionally. The GT3 car, which has become very successful this year and last year around the world in national championships, and in fact I think we have a chance of winning the British Championship this year in a few weeks' time. So, and of course the GTE car, which we're here with this weekend. So, no, it is a great lineup.
The rise and rise of GT3 with a standardised specification, with a balance of performance that's set, that everybody knows about, there can be no argument, clearly works well for competitors and manufacturers. ELMS, the European Le Mans Series, has had those cars in this year. Do you see that as somewhere to expand into and get some of your customers working there as well?
We look at all opportunities. Wherever there's an opportunity to run the car and we've got customers out there who want to, we'll give them the support they need. And John's put in place a support truck going out to most of the events now to make sure there are spares there and technical assistance when it's required as well. So it's an expanding program.
Are you happy with where the sport stands at the moment, David, in terms of how it stands from the GT side of things? There's big changes in prototypes coming, but the GT seem to be in a relatively stable state at the moment.
The GT regulations, you're quite right, seem to be relatively stable, and they certainly look very good when you see how close the performance is on the track. Of course, the thing that slightly concerns me and disappoints me occasionally is that the prototypes get the limelight and the GTs are on the same racetrack the very same day, racing probably harder and probably closer than up at the front, but are seen as the bridesmaid, and we have to change that.
David, thanks for being with us. Enjoy the rest of the weekend.
Okay.
Well, not this weekend, I think. That was David Richards, the man at the head of Aston Martin Racing and Aston Martin Lagonda cars, talking to us earlier on this week. Certainly the American Le Mans Series had GT cars front and centre, and we've seen plenty of Aston Martin battling and Ferrari battling in this one. Aston Martin's leading both of the GT categories at the moment. Bruno Senna in the 99 in the Pro has Giancarlo Fisichella trying to catch him up, and it's two Astons, in fact, 96 and 95 at the head of the GT AM field. How has Duval been doing in the last 5 or 6 laps, Paul Truswell?
Well, average lap times, which is always something which is important. His average over the last 6 laps, 1 minute 49.313 seconds, and can't really compare that one with Anthony Davidson yet, because he's not really up to speed. But his first 2 flying laps on that new set of tyres, 1 minute 53.4 and a 1 minute 53.8 were the 2 from Anthony Davidson. So at the moment, Duval is stretching the gap, and that's the sort of thing that, as I was saying before we heard from Dave Richards there, is what Audi needs to do if they're going to win this race. At the moment, though, they don't seem to have an answer for the Toyota double stinting its tyres, because at the next pit stop, Anthony Davidson's going to come in and save himself 30 seconds or so by not changing tyres, and that's going to probably enable him to get back out after his pit stop, which will anyway be later than the Audi, and maintain the lead. And then it's going to be a matter of whether Alan McNish, who's due in the car next, in the number 2 car, is going to be able to maintain Duval's pace and do, as he did in the last stint, a very aggressive and successful overtaking move when it comes to happen. So all these things are kind of being laid out for us in the future as far as the race for the outright lead is concerned.
You're absolutely right, Paul, but Anthony Davidson is going to have to up his pace considerably, because he's losing a lot of ground here now in these, 3 laps since he's rejoined the race, obviously on new full tank of fuel, but he's already 30 seconds behind the race leader, Loic Duval, and he's only going to be losing time because the Audi, as you said, is significantly quicker. I mean, both of the Audis have been turning laps in the 47s. Benoit Trellier turned the fastest lap of the race about, what, 8 or 9 laps ago at a 1:47.3, and the other car has been down in the 47s as well. So, you know, the Audis are much, much quicker than the Toyota, and I think it's beginning to show now more as the race is going along because Audi realise they have to push hard.
There's a heck of a GT battle going on as well. The two Ferraris going across the start-finish line up into turn 1 now. 51 and 71, Fisichella and Wielander. This from Christian Rose, and this is for you, Trussers. I'm not sure how closely you're keeping an eye on this, he says, but the Aston number 99 stopped a lot later than both of the Ferraris. Is that enough to save a stop or not? It was very tight, wasn't it, for GT cars? I suspect they probably need a little more safety car for anyone to try and save a stop.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the Aston should be able to do the race on 4 stops.
Wow.
Let's see, when was it? Yeah, it's been out since 27 minutes past. So it's just been out for an hour, so it'll be out for another 5-10 minutes. And if it can continue at that rate, then the Aston will be able to do the race on 4 stops, whereas the Ferraris will need an extra splash of fuel at some point.
Change of position, the two Ferraris with a Porsche behind them. The Porsche is the 91 car coming back through the field in Patrick Pilet's hands. Many laps down after that fire in the pit lane earlier on. But now we have a new second place Ferrari. And it is Giancarlo Fisichella who made... it is Tony Wielander, excuse me, who made relatively easy work of Fisichella once he got to the back of him. And Fisichella's also lost track position, but not position in the timing and scoring to that number 91 recovering Porsche. Yeah,
it was a good stint, wasn't it, by Kamui Kobayashi last time out in that car. He's handed over now to Tony Wielander, and Wielander is carrying on that good work. You're right, they're now behind the Aston Martin by... I'm actually not quite sure how much at the moment.
To wait for them to come across the line. He's a good way ahead.
The gap before the pit stops, it was about 6 seconds between the Aston and the Ferrari.
Ollie Gavin in 4th position in GT Pro, by the way. The leading pair of P2 cars have just left the pit lane, separated by about a minute and 2. Rusinov staying at the wheel of the 26 Oreca Nissan, and Luis Perez Companc in the P-Com car also doing his second turn at the wheel, and the 49 car in second. David Enemeyer Hansen remains behind the wheel of the 3rd place 24 Morgan Oak. Got to think there's going to be some repercussions for that Gonzalez move earlier on his teammate that has taken the championship leading car out of contention.
Have you also seen, John, that Eduardo de Freitas is investigating the abuse of track limits for the number 1 car, Ben Trellier, which was something that you mentioned at the time?
Yes, it was when he was unlapping himself, wasn't it? Yes, he went round the outside of a couple of cars at turn 19 and barely got back on the track before turn 20. Kind of used it as an extra wide turn, and I think I'm slightly exaggerating there, but only slightly, if I'm honest. Next up in the FIA World Endurance Championship, we make the long trip to Japan for the fantastic and historic Fuji circuit, and that's another race and build up to it that you can hear exclusively live here on RadioLeMans.com. Every single session in audio, and we'll put audio and vision together on FIAWEC.com in qualifying, excuse me, and the whole of that race live. That comes up in October. Looking forward to that one.
Pit stop for the 2nd place car in P2. Luis Perez Companc has brought the number 49 P-Com Racing Oreca Nissan into the pit lane. I think it's a scheduled stop for that car. We can expect Roman Rusinov in car number 26, the class leader, to be in another few laps. Yeah, another lap or 2, I would suggest, for number 26 car.
Just seeing on the screens now a reminder of the 4 harvesting zones for hybrid power. Braking areas from 50 metres to the apex of turn 1, of turn 11, turn 12 and turn 20. Now that again, that's all going to change next year, and the harvesting of energy is going to be a lot more free from the EV systems. The P1 category, effectively going back to the old Group C days. Sadly not in how the cars will look, but in the fuel efficiency formula, the fuel flow formula that was so much a part of the excitement of Group C. No, a lot of people are going, fuel efficiency, that's boring. Hang on, you're the same people who said that Group C was the best in the world. Looking forward to see how that's going to work. And as I was saying earlier on, a number of people have pointed this out, or at least flagged it up. 550 brake horsepower from the internal combustion engines in the works prototypes from Toyota, Porsche and Audi, with an additional amount of power from the EV systems to give, in bursts at least, something in the region, so I'm told, of 1100 horsepower. And it will be driving all four wheels as well. Certainly for Toyota. We expect Audi to be the same, of course, with their commitments to Quattro. But Pascal Vasselon telling us in Toyota Tech Talk episode 4, which you can download from radiolemans.com, that it would be a dual hybrid system delivering harvested power to both the rear and the front axles in the new P1 car that they are developing at the moment, which I'm going to call the TSO 40. Whether it is or it isn't, but it seems like a logical progression to me. So whilst we're still looking forward to the last 3.5 races of this year, 2014 already looking mouth-wateringly good, but with Porsche in the fight as well, how many times are we going to say Peugeot next year when we don't mean it? The times for our Fuji coverage, by the way, on radiolemans.com. Paul.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of when Porsche comes back, then the temptation will be even greater, won't it, to say Jaguar?
Yeah, yes, very good. Very good. If only we could persuade Mr. Tartar that buying a sports car company would be immeasurably improved by having a sports car racing.
Well, I know that the name was being associated with a P1 project, but that was over a year ago now, and I suspect that if it would have going to happen, it would have happened by now.
I wondered if you were going to mention that. Leading GTE Pro car, Bruno Senna comes in the car, presumably to be levered out of the driving seat with some kind of crowbar, because he's having far too much fun out there at the moment to want to leave of his own volition. There's a full complement of staff there, as is Shea Adam for our Nissan, powered by Nissan Pit Lane reports.
A crowbar, that's what Fred Macco had in his hands. I couldn't tell what it was, but thank you, John. Yeah, Bruno Senna has given up the seat. Fred Macco is getting strapped in. They have 4 new tires for this car. It has been out there for a while, doing very, very well, leading the pack, and just fuel going in right now. Then they'll put the tires on and let Fred Macco try and maintain the lead.
Meantime, a battle developing. Ooh, there's an off-course excursion there for the 99 car. Must have been shortly ago, because the car now on pit lane, so perhaps he's not going to lose too much time as a result of it. But this is about time for the new tyres on this car. Battle also developing in P2 for second place.
Just here are the other the GT Pro runners coming through. The Tony Vilander car is the red Ferrari on the front straight now, and it will go past and retake the lead, because Shea, I don't think the Aston is down yet.
The Aston just left the pit lane and took one of the Michelins off. It was ripped to shreds, so that might have something to do with when the car went off.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you. Well, not fine, but that's a good piece of intel. So a tyre problem for Bruno Senna, which brought him into the pit lane. Fred McAvee is restored, but he now has 2 Ferraris ahead of him, and Ollie Gavin not too far away from the tailpipes, as number 51 Giancarlo Fisichella is stuck in behind Tracy Crone through the S's, and there's no way through there. It's a one-line part of the track for the GT cars. And particularly, of course, the AM car is pretty much the same speed as the Pro car down the straights, Jeremy, as it pulls out of the corner. But Fisichella goes down the inside as Tracy turns in, glances his eyes to the left, saw the car there, lets him go. So last 2 hours and 22 minutes as the number 1 Audi is in the pits. As predicted again by Paul Truswell, diesel fuel going in. Shea, what can you see of that?
Nothing of it right now. I was just noticing that the 98 was in the garage, and talking to Richie Stanaway, he said that they are retired. Pedro Lamy, who was out on the track after they had a stuck throttle incident, went over one of the curbs and broke the suspension. So there is one less Aston Martin out on the track.
Well, that actually ties up that nicely, because there was a couple of people asking about that car. Jeremy Shaw and Paul Truswell with myself, John Hindhaugh, and Jim Roller in the booth. It's Shea Adam in the pits and back in our UK Tech Centre. Just like all the best Formula One teams, we beam everything back to home base and let the clever people look through the data. Of course, we have our on-site clever person here as well. Jeremy, what have you been looking at?
No, just we talked a little while ago about Anthony Davidson having to up the pace after the first 3 or 4 laps. He's done that. He's pretty much stabilised the gap now, the deficit to the number 2 Audi of Loic Duval. It was 35 seconds or so 4 or 5 laps ago. Now it's 36 seconds. So he's doing a good job now of maintaining the same sort of pace as the Audi. Having said that, the Audi lost a couple of seconds a couple of laps ago. So it's still very much, I think, advantage to the Audi, but the Toyota is still in the game.
Right, do you concur with that? Or have we got a bit of university challenge going on here? Do you still think it might be the Toyota who has the slight upper hand, Paul?
Yes, I do. It's going to depend purely on pace, though, which is good. I mean, that's what racing's all about. It's not all about pit stops. As long as Anthony Davidson can keep this pace that he's got at the moment of lapping in the 1 minute 51s, remember, of course, he's going to save 30 seconds on his next pit stop, assuming that he doesn't change the tyres, which would be par for the course. It will be a full tyre change, almost certainly, for the number 2 Audi when it comes into the pits, even though, and that should be handing it over as well to Adam McNish. Then it's all going to be down to the pace in the remaining 3 stints of the race. And of course, let's just hope the safety car doesn't come out, because that will mess it up altogether, because it is so close and the lap times are so closely matched, and the effect of a safety car bunching cars up one way or the other will destroy the fine balance. And you know, it is so finely balanced at the moment.
It is, but already now Anthony Davidson is 36 seconds behind the Audi. Yes, he'll gain 30 seconds or thereabouts if he doesn't change, assuming he doesn't change tyres, they continue that strategy. But there's another very quick lap from Loic Duval, 147.971 for our race leader.
Anthony David.
The fastest.
Sorry, Paul.
Yes, it is the fastest that car has gone, isn't it? It's not as fast as Trellier has gone in the number 1 car, but it's as fast as the number 2 has gone, which is exactly what the number 2 team wants, is fast lap times from Loic. Of course, the other advantage that the Toyota has is that it can go longer on a tank full of fuel. Now, up until now, it's only been doing 1 lap longer, which is something of a surprise, because the indications were that they'd be going further than they're actually doing. So, possibly to do with the fact that they're going a bit faster, they are using more fuel in so doing.
But don't forget, that's a normally aspirated engine, so they can mess about with the fuel map a bit, but it's not as infinitely variable as having a turbocharged engine, where effectively you can control your fuel consumption by turning the turbo up and down. This is one of the contentions, isn't it, about the performance balancing of the diesel and the petrol, and why, Paul, we've seen this complete 180-degree turnaround from a season or so ago, when the Audi went longer on its fuel and produced less pace, whereas the Toyota was very, very quick but had to stop more times. They've basically turned up the juice on the Audi turbos and swapped that around.
Yes, I mean, that was all triggered by the regulation change, which demanded that the diesel breathe through a smaller restrictor. The size of the restrictor, the air restrictor through which the engine gets its air, was reduced for the Audi, and the technical team found that when they did all the sums, the only way to get the power back was not just to get a little bit of the same amount of power back, but was to get more power back, and that had the impact of using up more fuel, as you say, John.
That is a classic Audi answer to the question. Okay, we've lost a bit of power. What shall we do? How can we claw it back? Oh, we can find more. Oh, okay, then let's do that. That is.
Well, then there was also the other bit of hybrid which they weren't allowed to use, which
was the air-driven hybrid.
Has stymied their challenge enormously.
Yeah, it's just the hybrid, the air-driven hybrid that was tested out in the Middle East, which one of our listeners posted us some pictures and some video footage of. Well, what, about a year ago? More of that?
Yes, it was, yeah.
And that was outlawed by the governing body, rather unfortunately, because that's a technology I'd like to find out more about. Car number 26 has been off the track at turn number 10, which is heading down the hill towards that heavy braking area and not keeping to the track limits, abusing the track limits in official parlance, which is a bit odd because turn number 10 is barely a right-hand kink. So it must have been a long way off the circuit, or at least off the racing line. 2 hours and 16 to go now, powered by Nissan coverage. Hello there and welcome along if you're just joining us. Paul Trustwell back in the UK crunching the numbers for Jeremy Shaw, Jim Roller, Shea Adam and John Hindhaugh. We've got the full team, or most of the full team, on the go here. We only need the rest of the powered by Nissan pit lane and Cabana boy and we'll be off and running. Paul Dunk is otherwise engaged this weekend but listening in from a secret location we can't talk about. And he's not in Derbyshire this weekend, is Dunky. Hope you've still got the brew on there, Dunky, and you're enjoying yourself. Full report when you get back, and thank you very much indeed for the intel that you provided us earlier on. And I'll say to you, which will mean nothing to anybody else, so this is the most in comments. That is exactly what we've been hearing all the time since we talked to people about that very same issue at Sao Paulo. So this Audi and Toyota battle continues,
yeah,
Jeremy.
It's slipping away for Toyota because
so?
I do, because the gap is now out to 48 seconds. We're 2 hours and 14 minutes to go in this race, and they're going to save themselves a minute or so with not changing tyres on a couple of stops. But I think the gap is going to be more than a minute before too long. It's gone out from, it was 35 seconds 7 laps ago. It's now out to 48 seconds. So a good second and a half a lap, if not more than that, that the Toyota is losing at this stage.
Yeah,
well, this is the race
last time.
The Toyota was losing it at the beginning of the race, isn't it, Jeremy?
Yeah.
Because at the beginning of the race, the Audi was just drifting away. What does this part of the race have in common with the beginning of the race? Well, Loic Duval is the
absolutely right.
Yeah.
Absolutely right.
Yeah,
you're
very
absolutely
good.
Right. But even in the first stint, I mean, when they came in at the end of the first stint, okay, we had a couple of laps of caution, but the gap between the two leaders was only 18 seconds. When the number 2 car peeled off into the pit lane after 25 laps. So this time, in this stint alone, the gap has gone out from 23 seconds to 48.
Yeah, and that's partly down to Anthony Davidson not quite getting on the pace of Stefan Sarazan, I suspect.
I'm afraid
but again,
so.
The car may be carrying a problem of some sort.
You can really hear the big flywheel spinning up in the braking areas. Going down the back straight now. Let's see if we still